let's get a little crazy. What kind of crazy? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Now, I'm assuming you clicked on this video because maybe you think I've got some kinda insider scoop, some kind of industry knowledge about something huge. A particular game type that maybe has been requested hardcore by countless members of the Destiny community. A PvP mode that has helped shape the very core of Destiny. I'm of course talking about Trials of Osiris. Let's get this out of the way. I have zero insider industry knowledge. I have zero folks at Bungie telling me this information. I got zero community members telling me, hey, by the way, it's confirmed, it's true. I am literally pulling this theory right out of my butt, and that theory, again, which is 100% speculation, is that Trials of Osiris, not the 9, is coming in Season 10 of Destiny 2. So, some of you out there probably thinking right about now, hey, Fallout, why even make a video like this without thick, rock-hard facts? Why even possibly get your own hopes up? Well, I don't know, I'm killing time before Season of Dawn right now, and it seemed like a fun little prospect to dive into, so here we go. Recently, I'd read on Twitter that several very well-known streamers and Destiny community members were traveling out to the West Coast, specifically for a visit to Bungie Studios. Let it be known, this is not an uncommon occurrence. Historically, there have been many community summits, both small and large, where Bungie invites Destiny players out to their offices for meetings and discussions on the state of the game, about potential upcoming content, maybe even to playtest upcoming content, and what have you. If this is the first you're hearing about this and think I'm exposing some big industry secret, nah, your finger just ain't on the pulse as hard as you thought it was. They've been pretty open about their meetings and summits with folks who play the game. Also, they don't just invite streamers or YouTubers only. They've had open casting calls in the past, so to say. But anyway, I'm getting off track. Recently, there was another community summit. It apparently happened last week, aka the week of December 1st, towards the tail end of the week after the Season 9 reveal stream took place. Who was at this community summit, you wonder? Well, the entire guest list isn't totally known, and maybe I should say isn't totally known by me. Sometimes people just don't like to advertise that type of stuff, but some do, and from reading Twitter, we know that at the very least, Bandwipe, formerly Buttwipe, and if you've never heard that name before, I'll just pause here for a quick giggle. There we go, as well as Real Crafty and mother effin' Dr. Lupo, who also follows me on Twitter, by the way. That's not relevant to this video, but yeah, just feels good, and I'm putting it out there. Anywho, are you mentally playing a riveting game of what do all these people have in common? Because you should. Bandwipe, Crafty, and Lupo all were super well-known Trials of Osiris streamers back in the day of D1, and some for a brief time at the beginning of D2. They're former Trials Sherpas like me and many other Guardians out there. Only difference is for them, it was mostly a full-time gig. So let me ask you, do you find it suspicious that 3 Trials gods just attended a Destiny community summit? Cause golly gee, I sure do. That's not enough for you, huh? Could be a coincidence. I mean, yeah, it definitely could be, but how about the fact that for the most part, Crafty and Lupo specifically have very rarely played Destiny lately. It's entirely possible that they were hand-picked specifically for this community summit due to their backgrounds as hardcore Trials of Osiris players. It's not confirmed, but it's definitely possible. In my mind, only something as monumentally gigantic as Trials could be enough to pull these boys back into the realm of Destiny PvP big time. So why Season 10? Why not right now with the Season of Dawn? Well, considering the community summit happened days before the now tomorrow release of Season of Dawn, aka Season 9, it doesn't seem likely that they'd be there to playtest and or discuss a brand new game type that would be released almost immediately, or to be released very shortly after the launch of the season. Now, I'm not a video game developer, clearly. I'm just a player, so I don't know how these things work, but I'm guessing that it's way more likely they'd be discussing and playing content for the far out future, so Bungie can take all the feedback given and adjust things accordingly. Again, we're getting pretty deep into the tinfoil hat waters here, and I'll address this one more time in a much larger and clearer way at the end of the video, but I feel it's a good idea to remind you at this point that once again, this is just a theory and should be taken as such. Let's take a minute and step back and look at the entire picture. We have confirmation mention that 3 streamers recently attended a community summit, all of whom are hardcore former Trials Sherpas, and 2 that haven't really streamed Destiny 2 a ton in the past year when compared to other games out there in the market. Also, consider the following screenshot from Reddit of DMG from Bungie answering community feedback on the subject of Trials. It reads, RE Trials. We've had a few blog posts talking about Trials of the 9 being on indefinite hiatus, and Luke, aka Bungie game director Luke Smith, speaking to what worked and what didn't in one of the director's cut blog articles. This season, Elimination is returning as a static mode that you can play at any time. We collected a lot of feedback from Crucible Labs over the last season, and we'll continue to look at how the mode plays this season with upcoming sandbox changes and other things. You bet your ass I'll be in there. Please continue to sound off with what works and what doesn't, maps, mode settings, weapons, armor, etc. Please adjust your tinfoil hats accordingly and notice the emphasis placed on the word 9. Trials of the 9 being on indefinite hiatus. Trials of the 9, as we all know, was different than Trials of Osiris, so they very clearly want to remind us that while Trials of the 9, aka the game type in early D2 we were kinda wishy-washy on, has no plans of being brought back, they ain't saying the same thing about maybe Trials of Osiris. I mean, he could have just said Trials, but he had to not only mention, but emphasize the 9. And really, it's not that big of a stretch, because looky, guess who's back front and center in Season 9? Why, it's Uncle Grandpa Osiris, here to help us wake up Saint 14. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. So you know how when we killed the Undying Mind at the end of Season 8, and that kinda set the wheels in motion to the current plot of Season 9? You know, because that's a thing that's going to be happening in D2 now. I think a similar event, God knows what, is going to happen at the end of Season of Dawn, which is going to somehow set up the return of Trials of Osiris in Season 10. Booyah. Alright, now that I've pumped you full of crazy tinfoil hat theory juice, it's time to deflate you just a little bit. Again, this is a theory. It's entirely possible that Crafty Lupo and B-Dub were all out at the community summit for a completely different PvP activity, or maybe even for a different in-game PvE activity altogether. Maybe Osiris being back at the forefront of Season 9 is just a PvE-related story choice and will have absolutely no connection to a possible return of the OG Trials. Now, I have to say all of this, really, because in the event that I predict Trials comes back and it doesn't, well, some of you out there probably would be disappointed. I know, and even thinking about this theory myself, I'm kind of getting my own hopes up here. I would make myself disappointed. So we got to take everything out on the table right now, which is very little, and take it with a grain of salt. We have to be prepared for the possibility that Trials is gone and never coming back. The 4v4 version we were given at the beginning of D2 didn't really work super well, and maybe Bungie has decided they're going to work on different game modes instead. We have to consider that as a possibility, even if we don't want to. But, you know, given who was invited to the community summit, the wink wink nudge nudge of the italics in DMG's Reddit message, and the fact that the elimination game type is coming back in full force for an entire season, and the fact that Osiris is here driving the plot ship for Season 9, never say never. And it might be good to leave it at that. So I hope you'll join me in keeping my fingers crossed, because I had a hell of a time playing Trials in D1, hands down my favorite PvP game type ever, and I would love to see it back in the near or even far future of D2. Now, I know there's an entirely different issue of would Trials even be fun in the current meta, and that's a whole other kettle of fish. For the record, I think the answer to that is yes, but hey, your answer could be different. If you also want to see Trials come back, or have significant changes made to the game in any capacity, I recommend you continue giving feedback to Bungie regarding their game. And to be clear, when I say give feedback, I mean don't be an asshole. We're all on the same ship here, fellas. Feedback that's well thought out and constructive has a way better chance of being taken to heart than than you spewing diarrhea out of the lowest hole on your face. I'm not a sugarcoater. Anyway, if you have thoughts on the current state of Trials, aka do you think it's coming back? Do you think it's not coming back? Do you care? Do you not care? Let me know down in the comment section. Please click the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Really helps my channel out, and I'll love you forever, official guarantee. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.